Welcome to another AP Human Geography topic walkthrough, brought to you by Mr. Michael, Social Studies teacher. This video is here to help you fill out your lecture notes, understand the big ideas, and maybe even laugh once or twice. So grab your notes and let's get started.
Ever wonder why you can get bubble tea in Paris, or why your playlist has K-pop, trap, and Bollywood bangers on shuffle? That's cultural diffusion doing its thing. Ideas, trends, and vibes spreading across the globe like wildfire. In this lesson, we're unlocking the secrets behind how stuff travels from one place to another, from ancient trade routes to TikTok dances. Stick around because diffusion isn't just about geography. It's about how the world low-key copies, remixes, and reboots everything. Alright, squad, here's the game plan. We're gonna break down the different ways culture spreads across the map. That includes people physically moving and taking their culture with them, and ideas going viral without anyone leaving home. We're talking relocation, expansion, and all its chaotic little cousins. Contagious, hierarchical, and stimulus diffusion. Basically, if it spreads, we're covering it. Let's take a closer look at what's actually going on here. First up, that map on the left shows us some ancient cultural hearths. Basically the OG hotspots where early civilizations unlocked God mode. Places like Mesoamerica, the Nile River Valley, and Mesopotamia weren't just vibing. They were out here inventing writing, farming, cities, and entire belief systems that would go global before the idea of going viral even existed. Now fast forward to the right side of the slide. This is your front row seat to modern cultural hearths. We're talking New York, Paris, Shanghai. Cities that launch fashion trends, drop tech innovations, and influence pop culture worldwide. If it's on your feed, it probably started in one of these places. Remember the key term here. A cultural hearth is the geographic origin of a cultural trait. It's where the idea is born. But it doesn't stay there. Once it leaves the hearth, that's when diffusion begins. And that's what we're getting into next. Ever noticed how something local suddenly becomes global? That's the power of diffusion. The spread of cultural traits, ideas, or trends from one place to another. Whether it's food, fashion, or a viral phrase, culture's always on the move. There are two main types you need to lock in: relocation diffusion and expansion diffusion. Relocation diffusion happens when people physically move and bring their culture with them. Picture Italian immigrants arriving in the US and introducing pizza. Now it's a global comfort food, complete with extra cheese and pineapple debates. Or think about how English spread to North America, Australia, and South Africa through colonization and migration. Expansion diffusion is when the cultural trait spreads outward without the people moving. The idea stays in one place, but it catches on like wildfire. That could be slang spreading through social media, fashion trends jumping from city to city, or music like hip-hop starting in one neighborhood and reaching fans across the world. And within expansion, we've got three flavors coming up: contagious, hierarchical, and stimulus diffusion. Let's see how each one works its magic. When people move, culture doesn't stay behind. It travels right alongside them. That's the essence of relocation diffusion, the spread of cultural traits through migration. Picture this: Europeans crossing the Atlantic in the 13th and 14th centuries. They didn't just bring ships. They brought Christianity, Spanish, and English with them. Today, those languages and beliefs are still shaping societies across the Americas. But this kind of cultural carry-on isn't just old school. When Italian immigrants moved to the US in the 1800s, they brought pizza. And somehow, that led to pineapple as a topping. Or take disco music, born in the US in the 70s. It lost steam here, but it kept dancing in Egypt for decades. Even accents travel. The way Appalachians pronounce English today sounds more like Shakespeare's time than modern Britain. Relocation diffusion shows us how culture hops borders, not by going viral, but by being physically carried from place to place. But what if no one moves, and culture still spreads like wildfire? Time to talk expansion. Culture doesn't always need a passport to spread. That's where expansion diffusion comes in. The movement of ideas through interaction, not migration. The cultural trait stays rooted in its original hearth, but it spreads outward as more people adopt it. This type of diffusion comes in three main forms, and each one has its own personality. Contagious diffusion spreads like a viral tweet, fast, broad, and unstoppable. Hierarchical diffusion travels from the top down, from influencers, power centers, or big cities. Then there's reverse hierarchical diffusion, flipping the script and moving from the bottom up, like something starting in small towns before hitting the mainstream. Finally, stimulus diffusion is all about remixing, when a culture adopts an idea but tweaks it to fit their own vibe. Unlike relocation diffusion, expansion doesn't rely on people moving, just on people vibing. Now let's break down each of these three styles and see them in action. Forget slow and steady. Contagious diffusion is culture spreading like a group chat rumor. It moves fast, hits wide, and touches basically everyone in its path. This type of diffusion happens when a cultural trait spreads continuously outward from its hearth through direct contact. No gatekeepers, just hype. In today's world, it's even faster thanks to globalization and time-space compression, tech that shrinks the world and speeds everything up. One post, one sound, and boom. It's in every hallway, every timeline, every brain cell. Case in point, 6 or 7. A 12-year-old named Maverick Trevelyan shouts it courtside at a basketball event. It's weird, it's loud, it makes zero sense, and that's exactly why it went viral. The shout, the pose, the energy, it hit Gen Alpha like lightning. Suddenly, kids everywhere are yelling 6-7 in classrooms, TikToks, and gym bleachers. No deeper meaning, just pure contagious diffusion. But not everything spreads from the crowd up. Some trends start with the rich, famous, or powerful. Let's head into hierarchical diffusion next. Not all culture spreads evenly. Some trends climb down from the top. That's hierarchical diffusion, when a cultural trait moves from the most powerful, wealthy, or connected people and places down to everyone else. At first, the trend might only be for elites, expensive, exclusive, or limited by access. Take cell phones in the 1980s. They started with rich business people in big cities, clunky, brick-sized status symbols. But as production scaled up and prices dropped, phones went from high-end to in every pocket worldwide. Same with fashion, music, and pop culture. Designers drop it on the runway, celebs wear it on red carpets, influencers post it on social media. And the next thing you know, it's in your shopping cart at the mall. Hierarchical diffusion is all about who gets it first and who gets it later. But sometimes, culture flips the script and spreads in the opposite direction. Coming up next, reverse hierarchical diffusion. Sometimes culture doesn't trickle down, it rises up. That's called reverse hierarchical diffusion, when a trait spreads from the least connected or powerful groups to the mainstream. One of the most iconic examples is hip-hop music. It started in low-income neighborhoods in U.S. cities, places with poverty, discrimination, and not a lot of resources. But the culture, style, and voice coming out of those communities caught on fast. Before long, hip-hop wasn't just local, it was global, showing up in commercials, movies, and playlists worldwide. Another classic case, Walmart. It didn't launch in a big city. It started in a tiny town in Arkansas and grew into an international retail empire. That's reverse diffusion, small town origin, worldwide takeover. Cultural change doesn't always come from the top. Sometimes the most powerful ideas come from the margins. But what happens when a culture adopts an idea but changes it to fit their own values? That's where stimulus diffusion comes in. Not every cultural trait copies and pastes perfectly. Stimulus diffusion happens when a cultural idea spreads, but it gets altered or modified to fit the new place. Something about the original doesn't vibe. Maybe it's a taboo, a cultural barrier, or just a major difference. So people keep the idea, but change the details. Take this golden example. McDonald's expands into India, where Hindu culture views cows as sacred. That means eating beef is a big no. So what does Mickey D's do? No Big Macs. They drop the Macaloo Tikki and McVeggie instead. Same fast food formula, different ingredients. That's stimulus diffusion. The core idea spreads, but the execution adapts. It's not a copy, it's a remix. Now that we've broken down all the types of diffusion, let's zoom out and bring it all together. Time for a glow-up of everything we just covered. Diffusion is how cultural traits spread from a cultural hearth to new places. And it comes in two main styles. Relocation diffusion happens when people move and bring their culture with them, like pizza crossing the Atlantic or English hitting the Americas. Expansion diffusion spreads through contact and connection, not movement, and it has three very different vibes. Contagious diffusion moves fast and wide, like a meme or viral video. Hierarchical diffusion starts with the elite and spreads down. Think high fashion, tech, or celebrity trends. Reverse hierarchical diffusion flips that, with trends starting in small towns or low status groups before blowing up. Shout out to Walmart and hip-hop. And stimulus diffusion? That's when the idea spreads, but gets tweaked to fit, like McDonald's swapping beef for veggie patties in India. Whether it's TikToks, tacos, or taboos, cultural diffusion is all around us. And now you've got the tools to spot exactly how it moves. So, now that your brain is fully loaded with all the types of diffusion, let's see if you can flex that knowledge with one last challenge. All right, you made it to the bonus round. Now it's time to flex everything you've learned. We've covered how cultural traits spread through relocation and expansion diffusion, how ideas originate in cultural hearths, and how traits can unite or divide depending on how they land in a new place. Now here's your challenge. Choose one specific cultural trait, like a religion, a language, a type of food, or a style of music, and explain how its diffusion could act as a centripetal force in one region and a centrifugal force in another. In other words, how can spreading the same trait bring people together in one place but cause conflict somewhere else? Use the types of diffusion to support your answer. Did it spread by migration, interaction, or adaptation? And what kind of response did it trigger? Drop your answer in the comments, use real-world logic, and don't forget your name to snag that bonus point.